Please welcome the team behind the upcoming Scream 6, Matt, Tyler, and Chad from Radio Silence. What's up, guys?
Hey, how are you?
Happy to be here.
Thank you so much for joining me. Okay, so earlier this week, you showed us an exclusive image from Scream 6. Ghostface looks a little bit different this time around. How heavily does costuming play into Scream 6?
Very heavily.
In so many ways. Yeah. Inside that shrine, outside the shrine, given that it takes place
on Halloween.
Around Halloween. We weren't maybe fully prepared for just how huge of an undertaking that was.
Yeah, and our costume designer, Avery, who we worked with previously, she took the challenge of the costumes in this and I mean exceeded expectations. There's not a costume in the movie that isn't fully thought out, and it's kind of fun.
To piggyback on that, if we look at any long-running character in any movie, he's had, some Spider-Man, Batman, they've had like dozens of different costume revisions now, like, gold-plated Teflon masks and stuff like that. But Ghostface has mostly remain kind of iconic and the same.
I think that's a lot of the fun of Ghostface, that it could be anybody and it could be anything. And you could buy a Ghostface mask anywhere, at any Halloween store, any costume store. That accessibility really makes it interesting. And then obviously, without giving any spoilers away, the way we use it in this movie is also story points throughout, and it kind of propels the story forward a little bit and plays into the murder mystery of what Scream is in a really nice way. But I think that anybody can be Ghostface needs to be, front and center of any Scream movie. And I think that's what, that mask really represents.
The Scream movies are like historically violent as hell, but they're not really like super, super gory. Like there's blood, but we don't really get a ton of like dismemberment or disembowelment and stuff like that, really. So how do you know when a death is like just violent enough for these films without going too overboard?
I mean, I think it really just comes down to intuition. I think at the end of the day, we talk a lot about how one of the fun things that these movies all do is they play in a bit of a heightened reality. And I think one of the tightropes that we walk throughout the process is really knowing when to make the movie scary and cruel, but not make the entire movie cruel, right? There's a real difference between it feeling fun and it feeling like it's mean just to be mean. And obviously Ghostface is a terrifying and mean and scary character, but it also, we want to make sure that the movie is always walking a bit of a tightrope tonally. And for us, I mean, we on the set shoot everything, even the most gory bits. And really it's in editing that you find whether something pushes it too far. And oftentimes I think we've found not showing things is weirdly actually scarier. It allows for a level of interpretation that if you just show the thing, it sort of demystifies what's terrifying about the violence. So that's the thing we find ourselves doing really often, but you also always want to have the material just in case, you do need to shock people, to really shake them out of into a moment.
There's an X-rated version we could easily cut together.
I don't want to see that at all.
No, neither do we, to be clear.
I guess on the other end of the sort of pendulum, comedy has always played a big role in these movies. There's a lot of shit talking teenagers. Ghostface is borderline slapstick Scooby-Doo villain at times. He gets doors slammed into his head a lot. How important is comedy to Scream and to you guys? And how do you know when and where to weave it in?
So the humor is wildly important to us because it helps ground the characters. It helps keep the movie kind of, light and fun. So even though you just went through something awful with these characters you hopefully love, now there's a moment of levity, which, mirrors real life. So it helps ground it. So, I mean, the humor matters a lot. I think one of the things we're really conscious of is making sure that if it ever feels like we're going for a joke or it feels like something's designed around the humor, that I think just taste-wise, like Tyler was talking about earlier, we kind of just cut it down, because then it starts to feel like we're going for comedy. And I think once you feel that in a movie like this, it kind of strips the foundational groundedness of it out. So we just try to, we create little guardrails for ourselves and then we push it to the edges.
So like a lot's changed in the, like, just the way humans interact with each other since this franchise launched in the 90s. How do you even get a person under the age of 40 to even answer an unknown phone call in 2023? Like, was that a conversation that came up that was like, people, like, I see a call and I'm just going to block that person. They're not in my contacts. Like, how do you get someone to even pick up the phone for Ghostface?
Scream has always taken what feels like contemporary technology and made an obstacle out of it. It's one of the things that we love about these movies, and we think Guy and Jamie did so well on the last one, and there are certainly instances in this one where we're seeing the same thing, that the thing that should be a lifeline that you should be using to save your life is actually complicating your ability to survive. And it's just part of what always feels so contemporary about these movies, that they can take what exists in our real world and those things become an ingredient in what's scary and fun about the story.
All right, we have a huge video game audience at IGN, so I have to ask, do you think a Scream video game could ever work?
Oh, 100%.
Absolutely.
I know they did the Call of Duty, the Call of Duty mod for the last one, and I jumped into a few games and 90% of the players were playing as Ghostface, so if that's any indication, 100% yes. We've also talked though about how, a board game, like there's something about this franchise that lends itself to so many other formats, like the characterization, obviously the iconic villain, but the whodunit element, like there is a game within each movie. And I think it's one of the reasons why the gaming community loves the Scream movies and why collectors love the Scream movies. There's something so forensic about the storytelling. They're kind of puzzles in their own right. So yeah, absolutely. I think it'd translate perfectly.
What's sort of like your favorite weapon that we've seen Ghostface use to kill somebody in the past?
Garage door.
Yeah, the garage door.
Be number
Feels
one.
like a gimme, but yeah, it's pretty great.
Yeah. That's a very good one. We have a question from a Scream fan on Twitter. That's SJ Foster Sound, who asks, did you consider making any other cities the setting prior to working on the script?
No, the script was, it was the first thing that we learned about Scream 6. We were bugging Guy and Jamie, the writers, and William, our on the ground producer, to give us any intel about where they were taking it. And New York was the first thing that, first bit of information that we were given. And our minds were blown. We had no idea, no context outside of the setting, but we knew that it was going to be awesome because it felt so opposite from the small town, murder mystery that I think, we're all familiar with. It felt like there was just an entire universe of possibility in that setting. And then, of course, read the script. And I think one of the things we loved immediately was how specific it felt to the city. Like there are things that happen in this movie that just can't happen anywhere else. And it was really fun to design those set pieces and chases using the city as a backdrop.
Even the trailer, you see a lot of, kind of New Yorkers being like, yeah, we're not going to take this. Whereas I feel like in California, people were just kind of like, oh no, the killer's here. I guess we'll just have to work around him. Any last words on Scream 6 before I let you guys go?
Go see it.
Yeah, look, we're super. You never know in the moment like how it's going to turn out, and I think we were here at Paramount finishing it up now, and every day that we get to spend on it, it's just you just feel excited to come into work, and I think that's how you have something really special, and obviously as Scream fans, it feels very much like it's a Scream movie, but we're proud of the weird risks that it takes, and we think people are gonna really love it. It's got all the things that you want, but there's a little bit of a different flavor to this one.
Well, thank you guys so much. Scream 6 hits theaters on March 10th. Please go watch it.